Ladakh transitioned into a union territory without a legislature following the abrogation of Article 370 on the 5th of August 2019. Since then, the people of Ladakh have repeatedly expressed their aspirations for full statehood. Now, massive protests continue in Ladakh. These protests have been jointly organized by the Leh Apex Body and the Kargil Democratic Alliance, and have witnessed men and women marching through the main city of Leh despite the freezing temperatures right now. People have taken to the streets to demand full statehood for Ladakh. Protesters have also voiced constitutional protections under the 6th schedule and the establishment of separate parliamentary seats for Leh and Kargil districts in Ladakh. What is interesting is that the youth in particular have thronged the streets of Leh to advocate for full statehood. We now take a moment to reflect on what is it that will enable the youth of Ladakh to propel towards better opportunities that are today available to everyone who is a citizen of India. What really has happened in Ladakh for the people to feel the need to come on the streets? Have their voices not been heard? And if not, why? This is a moment for us to take a step back and open up this platform to some of our important voices who are joining us on this particular broadcast. Let me begin we have Sajjad Kargili, who's a Kargili social activist. I also have with me Mutasif Leh, Ladakh Scholars Association President, and we have with us Futong Stanzin, President of BJP Jammu Kashmir, with us as well. Let me begin, if I can, with Mr. Leh. Mr. Mutasif, I'd just like to begin by understanding from you, sir. The protests have been going on for a couple of days now, but I'm sure the sentiment behind it has been brewing for a very long time. There could be reasons as to why the people of Ladakh have not been heard, but today we want to take this opportunity and this moment to really understand what really, sir, are then the demands of the people of Ladakh. Mr. Mutasif Leh, if you can hear me, sir.
Yes, sorry. Was that question directed to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Firstly, I would like to wish all your viewers, and I would thank your platform for giving voice to the opinions of the people of Ladakh. I would just like to say that we in Ladakh know what we are and where we come from. We have proved our nationalism, we've proved our love for our country time and again. All the wars that have been fought between the two, neighbors that we have, Ladakhi people have proved their patriotism and their loyalty towards India, as much as anyone else. So the protest that you saw yesterday, one of the largest gatherings that has ever happened in the history of Ladakh, you would be surprised to see such a gathering, right? When the general narrative built in was that the people of Ladakh are happy after we got union territory and we were separated from Kashmir. The reality is, yes, in a way we wanted our own, political organizations, or you can say representation. We wanted better representation. We wanted to live our way, and that was the primary reason for our happiness. And we thought we had achieved that once we were separated from Jammu and Kashmir. But the protest that you saw yesterday has been brewing up since 2019. As soon as Union Territory was announced, people in Ladakh were hoping for a legislature. But over the course of years, we've been waiting since 2019. We've tried not to be antagonistic with the central government. We've tried not to rush our central government representatives, because we know there are things to do and our politicians are busy. But we've seen since 2019 that time and again there are some or the other issues erupting, and therefore our issues taking a back seat. But 2019 onwards, 2024 is a huge time to forego our own rights. And as a result of which you saw yesterday's protests.
Okay, all
Yes.
right. So I'd also like to just bring in Mr. Sajid Kargili into the conversation as well. Mr. Kargili, opening up the platform to you as well, sir. I'd just like to understand, beyond full statehood and beyond, of course, the very important need of having now an assembly of representatives into place, what really is it that continues to plague the people of Ladakh?
The basic thing is the democratic setup which must be provided for the people of Ladakh. In the first stage, the government needs to provide democratic setup, democratic process, because we are democracy. Our Honorable Prime Minister, wherever he goes, he represents India and thought that democracy is in our DNA. We are the mother of democracy. We are the largest democracy in the world. Being a democratic country, only development is not, not the thing which can provide everything, satisfy the people in the country. Because our India is a democratic country, so that every people have right to be part of this democratic process. Beyond these things, like we have another demand, like we are demanding for sixth schedule under the Indian Constitution, because we see that Ladakh has fragile ecological system, we have fragile ecology, our environmental relations are melting down very fast. We are facing climate crisis every year. Recently, last year, we have seen the structural Himachal Pradesh, also the entire Himalayan belt and jungle in particular. We are facing very much drought-like conditions are there. So we need some protection, some safeguards in the sixth schedule, because we have more than 90% tribal population in Ladakh.
Mr. Kargili, sorry for interrupting you, Mr. Kargili. Sorry for interrupting you. We keep losing your voice there. If you could just maybe, I'm not being really able to. Yes, we keep losing your voice. So I'm going to request you to just keep your mic very close to you.
Okay.
Yes, much better now. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. We are demanding sixth schedule because we have fragile environment, fragile ecology. In Ladakh, our glaciers are melting down. We are living in a very critical period where we are facing huge climatic crisis in the region. Recently, you have seen the Joshimath crisis, also seen flash flood in Himachal Pradesh, and now Ladakh is also facing drought-like conditions. That's why our population is we have more than 90% tribal population in Ladakh. That's why we are demanding sixth schedule for Ladakh, inclusion of sixth schedule, so that the constitutional guarantees provide us some protection under the sixth schedule. The third thing is we don't have any public service commission. Our youths are unemployed. We are second rank in the country in unemployment. That's why for last 4 years, not a single Ladakhi has been recruited, gazetted recruitment has happened. That's why we don't have any kind of setup which provides job opportunities to our youths. Government has failed to provide job opportunities to our PhD scholars. Our PhD scholars are roaming free. They are protesting in every month because of unemployment. These are the issues which need to be addressed, and we hope Government of India will address these issues as soon as possible.
Okay, when we talk about the future of the youth, Mr. Mutasif, I'm going to bring you back in the conversation, sir. Like I said, when we talk about the future of the youth of Ladakh, what really, if you were to give your suggestions to the government on what can be done immediately, what would that be?
I think take the local factors into consideration, right? You cannot have people coming in from other states who are not aware of the geographical or climatic or social conditions of Ladakh, and you cannot impose them on the people of Ladakh. And they come with a certain set of ideas of how to implement their vision of Ladakh, and they start implementing it ruthlessly, right? And as a result of which you see what you're seeing, right? A lot of discontent, we are suffering under a completely bureaucratic setup, and it does not feel good at all. Like, this is coming from our personal experience, right? I'm heading a forum called Ladakh Research Scholar Forum, right? And we've been keeping a watch on how the higher education and Ladakh University, the one university that we have functioning in Ladakh, how that is coming into play in Ladakh and the role that it is playing. And we've been forced time and again to come in and intervene or use our political leaders to help us intervene in the functioning of the university, because even in the university itself, you can see, a rampant bureaucratic way of functioning wherein the local factors are not kept into consideration at all. We've been time and again telling them to do it. See, Ladakh is a small place. We have people who are busy with their own daily lives, and nobody wants to come and protest in minus 15, minus 20 degrees, right? You have to understand that there is something going wrong. That is why people are protesting. And, I might deviate a little from what our political leaders are or our religious leaders are demanding and the reasons as to why. But me as a research scholar, what I see is, ever since we've seen 2019 and formation of Ladakh as a union territory, I've seen a constant increase in the VIP culture that we see in Ladakh, and that causes a lot of discontent.
Okay.
Ladakh is well known for its security and peace. You do not need cavalcades of 5-6 cars running behind every VIPs, and that is precisely what we see in Leh today. Every corner is reserved for some or the other VIP vehicle. The kind of vehicles that have been purchased in Ladakh, the kind of expenditures that are being done in Ladakh on vehicles and other, I wouldn't call it investment. It is not capital formation. These are being, put into places where there is only going to be depletion of resources.
Okay.
So such kind of things, right? So these are what actually causes anguish to the public, right? For example, now what you see is 2019, like we know that the constitution was created in almost 3 years, but today, under this bureaucratic setup, what we found out recently was Ladakh, the administration of Ladakh has not been able to even define what the scheduled tribes of Ladakh are. We are still using the definition that was given in the constitution of Jammu and Kashmir, right? Ladakh, as we see today, or as maybe people know it through the media, it does not consist of just one tribe. We have 8 tribes in Ladakh, right? And they failed to notify it.
Okay.
So things like these, what my recent experience was back at home. You saw bureaucrats coming in their vehicles, demarcating certain lands as state lands, which belong to the people or to the common people who are using it, right? Therefore, they were debarred from using those lands, or things like that. So these are what causes clashes, where there is an absence of communication between the administration and the general public. And under this bureaucratic setup, there was definitely, an increasing distrust or mistrust or lack of communication between the administration. And you look at our administrative setup, we have, the highest political bodies that we have in Ladakh are the Autonomous Hill Development Council, under which the CEO is the deputy commissioner or collector, as we call it. But under this UT administration, a collector falls very low in that order of ranking. And where you have the LG set up right in Leh, then that means you have no political representation there, in terms of policy making. So that is what is causing discontent. For every small little thing, you have to go to the LG, you have to give a certain plea, you have to give a certain memorandum, and then wait for things to happen. So it does not really feel like, the people of Ladakh are empowered in that sense.
Okay.
Right. But yes, in certain arenas, we've done well, like, for example, sports infrastructure or sports. But other than that, in terms of education, in terms of employment, we are seeing a lot of discontent among the youth. And we are really concerned about our future. We've had no employment on gazetted posts since 2019.
Okay. All right. Let me bring in Mr. Futong Stanzin as well into the conversation. Mr. Stanzin, I'd just like to understand your perspective, sir. Now, you're the president of BJP Jammu Kashmir. What really is it that has kept then the central government from giving the attention to Ladakh that it deserves, sir?
ओके सबसे पहले तो मैं हिंदी में कहना चाहूँगा
जी
जिस तरीके से एप्रोगेशन के बाद में मोदी सरकार का लद्दाख के साथ में जो रवैया रहा है, बहुत ही जो JNK में जो प्रोविजन था, आज भी जो लद्दाख के हिल कौंसल, दो जो हिल कौंसल है, उनको आज भी जैसे लैंड है, सब कुछ मतलब जिस तरीके से JNK में था, आज भी मेरे ख्याल से वो अभी तक है। हाँ, लेकिन ये सही है कि लद्दाख को एक सेफ गार्ड जरूर होना चाहिए। इसके लिए बीजेपी भी बिल्कुल ही इसके हक में है, सेंटर पूरा भी इसके हक में है, जिसकी वजह से जैसे लास्ट टॉक हुआ था 14 दिसंबर को, और उन्होंने कहा था कि जो हाई पावर कमीशन है, कमिटी है, किसके तहत, मतलब ये रिटर्न में दीजिए कि किस आर्टिकल के तहत, किसके तहत आपको जो सेफ गार्ड चाहिए। तो उन्होंने तकरीबन 16 जनवरी को ये सबमिट किया था, तकरीबन 42 डेज के बाद में ये सबमिट किया था कि हमें इस तरीके से चाहिए। तो इसका नेक्स्ट है जो 19 को हाई पावर कमीशन कमिटी है, वो दिल्ली बुला रखा है। तो हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि इसमें मोदी सरकार का या जो नहीं देने का नहीं है बिल्कुल ही, लेकिन एक सहमति सबका एक जरूर चाहिए था। इसमें जिस तरीके से पहले यूटी दे करके इसके ऊपर काफी लोगों का नुक्ताचीनी रहा कि इसका सिर नहीं है, पैर नहीं है, इस तरीके से जो है वो दोबारा से ना हो, इसलिए इसको एक इंश्योर करना चाहते हैं कि क्या कुछ आपको चाहिए, वो सारे अभी पाइपलाइन में है, डिस्कशन में है। तो हम उम्मीद करते हैं कि पूरे मतलब जो 19 को जो भी होंगे कमिटी के साथ में, उसमें सारे हमारे लद्दाख के सारे नेता उसमें है, चाहे एपेक्स का हो, KDA का हो, MPs हो, या जो CSC ऑनरेबल MPs हो, या जो ऑनरेबल जो CSC लेकर के दोनों को लीड करते हैं, वो सारे उसमें है। अदरवाइज बाकी हर साइड से जिस तरीके से यूटी बनने के बाद में जिस तरीके से अभी लोगों ने बताया कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में कोई कमी नहीं है। हाँ, ये जरूर है कि जिस तरीके से जैसे मेडिकल कॉलेज है या जो भी मतलब यूनिवर्सिटी है, वो थोड़ा मतलब इनका इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनने में टाइम जरूर लग रहा है। अदरवाइज सारे मतलब फंड्स के फ्लो हो, वो बहुत सारे लद्दाख आज के जो पहले से अलग तुलना किया जाए तो काफी प्रोग्रेस हो चुका है।
मिस्टर स्टैनजन, मेरे को बस एक बात समझनी है। देखिए, जम्मू कश्मीर में समझ में आता है कहीं ना कहीं के इलेक्शंस नहीं हुए क्योंकि अभी भी थोड़ा बहुत सिक्योरिटी का थ्रेट रहता है, एंड फॉर अदर रीजंस एज वेल। बट अगर लद्दाख को जम्मू कश्मीर से सेपरेट कर दिया गया था, दो अलग यूनियन टेरिटरीज बन गई थी, तो ऐसा क्यों है कि जब तक जम्मू कश्मीर में इलेक्शन नहीं होंगे तब तक लद्दाख में भी इलेक्शन नहीं होंगे? या अगर कोई पॉलिटिकल डिसीजंस लेने हैं वीजा वी लद्दाख तो वो भी नहीं लिए जाएंगे? जैसे कि एक सिंपल सी डिमांड है कि लेह और कारगिल एक दो अलग कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंसीज होनी चाहिए लोकसभा में।
जी मैम, देखिए ये तो जो दो कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी होना है ये तो बात की बात है, लेकिन जो इलेक्शन नहीं होने का बिल्कुल नहीं है। जिस तरीके से अभी लोकसभा का इलेक्शन होना है ट्रेम से होगा, ऐसे नहीं है कि JNK के साथ में होगा। ये आपको शायद गलत इन्फॉर्मेशन है। ट्रेम से होगा और पूरा हम सारे पार्टीज यहाँ पे तैयारी में लग चुके हैं। ये ट्रेम से होगा और जरूर होगा। बाकी रहा जो इतना देर होने की मैं जो रीजन बता रहा था, जो दो डिस्ट्रिक्ट को एक स्टेट या यूनियन टेरिटरी बनाया गया है, इससे पहले यहाँ पे कुछ भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इस तरीके के थे नहीं, इसलिए थोड़ा इंसाफ में डिले हो रहा था। बाकी जॉब का हाँ ये जरूर है कि जो गेजेटेड वाला है वो जरूर अभी तक नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन जो सेंटर ने LG को पूरा ये कमेटी बनाने का पूरा अथॉरिटी दे दिया है। बाकी सारे जॉब मेरे ख्याल से आज तक अराउंड 5,000 यहाँ पे जॉब्स क्रिएट हो चुका है। ये जरूर है कि मैं फिर से कहना चाहूंगा कि जो गेजेटेड पोस्ट है वो अभी तक नहीं हुआ है, उसके पूरा मतलब लगे हुए हैं जो कमिटी से जो भी पेपर्स वर्क से वो करने में भी लगे हुए हैं। जिस तरीके से 26 जनवरी को LG खुद ने अपने शब्दों में कहा था कि जल्द से जल्द जो गेजेटेड पोस्ट है वो भी जरूर होगा। मैं मानता हूँ पूरा कि लद्दाख को एक्सेप्ट कर जरूर होना चाहिए, इसके लिए हम भी लगे हैं और सेंटर खुद ही देना चाहते हैं। ये लोगों को मतलब मैं आश्वासन करना चाहूंगा। जी मैम।
Okay, I'll come back to you in just a moment, sir. Sajid Kargili, let me bring you back in the conversation. I'd just like to understand from you the various central schemes, Mr. Kargili, keeping aside for a moment the frustration of the youth, the fact that they don't have the best of universities or that they don't have the best of job offers, especially either in state administration because the state administration hardly exists, or even in a central administration. But keeping that aside for a moment, when we talk about the schemes of the center, which can be seen in other parts of India, do you feel that at least those schemes have trickled down into Ladakh and people are at least benefiting from some of those schemes?
I want to respond some of the things which Panchok Sahib has mentioned. Basically, Panchok Sahib एक चीज जो समझने की है वो ये है कि 6 शेड्यूल की जो डिमांड है वो भारतीय जनता पार्टी के मैनिफेस्टो का हिस्सा है. And now BJP is trying to run away from this demand, and they are not saying a single word about 6 schedule. What is the reason that BJP is running away from this demand?
मैं इसको क्लियर करना चाहूंगा मैम. देखिए आप
Mr. Sanjay, let him complete. And Mr. Kargili, I'll come to you. Mr. Kargili, make your point.
जिस फंड्स की आप बात कर रहे हैं, we are receiving 5,000 crores of fund, जिसमें से 250 करोड़ लेह काउंसिल को, 250 करोड़ जो है वो कारगिल काउंसिल को मिलता है. So we have 2 councils which are elected bodies of the people of Ladakh. लेकिन उसके अलावा जितना भी फंड्स बचता है वो सब ब्यूरोक्रेट्स के हाथ में है. तो लोकल जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है उसके पास 10% फंड्स है. 90% जो बजट है वो लोकल्स के हाथ में नहीं है, जो इलेक्टेड बॉडीज के हाथ में नहीं है. यहाँ तो डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन की जरूरत है. और दूसरी चीज जो आप बता रहे हैं कि जम्मू कश्मीर से अलग होने के बाद जम्मू कश्मीर का हिस्सा थे, लद्दाखीज हैड राइट टू elect a chief minister of a state. एक चीफ मिनिस्टर को चुनने का अधिकार होता था जम्मू कश्मीर जब स्टेट का हिस्सा थे. आज के डेट में जब यूटी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन एक पॉलिसी बनाती है तो हिल काउंसिल को वो ऑन बोर्ड नहीं लेते. कितनी ऐसी पॉलिसियां हैं जहां हिल काउंसिल को उन्होंने कॉन्फिडेंस में लिए बगैर they have implemented the policies. Recently we have seen the industrial policy in Ladakh where every political party they have expressed their resentment on this industrial policy. Such examples are, we have the similar example जिसमें लेह हिल काउंसिल की तरफ से इन्होंने एक्स सर्विसमैन को जो लैंड एलोकेट किया, उसके बाद जो है वहां के सेक्रेटरीज ने बताया कि इसको रजिस्टर मत करो, और बहुत बड़ी कंट्रोवर्सी लद्दाख यूटी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और हिल काउंसिल के बीच में हुई. Still there is no business rule between UT administration and Hill Council. Hill Council का कोई रूल अभी तक जो उनके पावर्स है वो डिफाइन नहीं है. That's the reason the resentment is there. The UT administration must take the local stakeholders into confidence before taking any decision. और the BJP should.
मैं इसको क्लियर करना चाहूंगा. इसमें बहुत सारे गलत उस पे जा रहा है. मैं इसको क्लियर करना चाहूंगा.
I'll give you an opportunity, but Mr. Kargili had asked a very pointed question to you, sir. I understand you wanted to respond to Mr. Stanzin. I'll give Mr. Stanzin the last word as well, but Mr. Kargili, I just like to understand from you. मैंने आपको एक सवाल पूछा था about some of the central schemes, and you're pointing out that 90% of the budget that comes into the state is not in the hands of anybody. It's in the hands of the bureaucrats. So that's why I want to understand that are the central schemes, some of the basic schemes of housing, of water, of power, have those trickled down and have they reached people in Ladakh?
The central scheme which is introduced by the government of India, most of them are not smoothly implemented in Ladakh, and some of them are obviously they have very perfectly they have implemented, but most of the schemes are not implemented. For example there are in terms of infrastructure also you have mentioned the infrastructure issue. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के इशू पर भी मैं पंतोष साहब को बताऊं, देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ डिमांड्स स्टिल पेंडिंग इन लद्दाख. 4 साल हुए, 4 साल में गेजेटेड रूल नहीं बनता है. 4 साल हुए, 4 साल में स्टिल द तुर्तुक हानू रोड इज पेंडिंग, स्टिल द पहलगाम किश्तवाड़ रोड इज पेंडिंग, स्टिल किश्तवाड़ पानीखर रोड इज पेंडिंग, स्टिल there is no improvement between this Dras Gurez road. We have several universities, there is no single university. The government has failed to setting up any medical or engineering college in the last 4 years.
Yes.
तो हम तो देख रहे हैं ना एजुकेशन के infrastructure
which is a big point about education infrastructure. Yes, Mr. Stanzin, 1 minute.
Yes sir, please.
1 minute to you if you can just explain. Then I'd like to leave the last word with Mr. Mutasif.
ओके. देखिए कलील साहब बोल रहा है कि ये जो हिल काउंसिल का बजट 50 करोड़ थे, उससे 250 करोड़ 5 टर्म्स गुना ज्यादा गया है. वो शायद बोल रहा है. जो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात कर रहा है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर या जो भी रोड्स की है, डिमांड तो पब्लिक का कभी पूरा होगा नहीं, लेकिन जो पहले 5 साल में बांधते थे, 6 साल में बांधते थे, अभी 1 साल में बांध रहे। रहा जो आपने बोला कि 5-6,000 पे आता है, करोड़ आते हैं, हाँ जरूर आते हैं, लेकिन उसमें इंटरनेशनल लेवल के यहाँ पे स्टेडियम बन रहा है, बहुत सारे ऐसे रोड बन रहे हैं जो युद्धि से फंडिंग जा रहे हैं। तो इनका कहना गलत होगा कि इस तरीके से कुछ नहीं बन रहा है। ये जरूर है कि एक सेफगार्ड होना चाहिए, ये हम भी मानते हैं। अदरवाइज जो पब्लिक को जो गुमराह कर रहे हैं वो मेरे ख्याल से टोटली गलत है। करगिल कहाँ था, आज करगिल कहाँ है, तो वो जो सोचने वाली बात है। जी मैम,
I've given an opportunity to both Mr. Sanjan and Mr. Kargili, but I'm going to leave the last word with Mr. Mutasif. Mr. Mutasif, when we talk about bringing about educational infrastructure in Ladakh, or the ability for young Ladakhis to continue living in Ladakh but also hold jobs, what really are there private entities that have shown interest in setting up something in Ladakh, private companies or private universities that want to come into Ladakh, and what do you think are the reasons that are possibly keeping them from entering Ladakh?
Basically, you know, all private educational institutions work on profit-based motive, right?
Yes.
So I don't know which part is they value better, imparting education or making profits. So I think it is the latter, that is making profits. And in a place like Leh, where you have minimum population, you know, there is only as much profit to be made, right? I just want to make a small point here that, you know, whenever Ladakh is mentioned, you know, it is always mentioned from the perspective of border, being a border, or being a, you know, geostrategically important location for the rest of the country. Yes, we understand that that is our geographical situation, but we should not forget that there are people living there as well. You know, you do not do all sorts of development just from the point of security. You do it from the point also that there are people involved. People are living there, and they have lived there for, you know, thousands and thousands of years, right? So, you know, there's a distinction that people of Ladakh needs to understand, that, you know, there is one aspect to building of tunnels, yes, but then, you know, if the government is so concerned about the people of Ladakh, then why are the airfares continuously increasing all the time? You know, like for example, yesterday, day before, you saw snowfall, and you should go and check the airfares right now. It is hardly a 1 hour flight, and you have, you know, airfares going up till 35 to 40,000. And, you know, we've been raising this.
Airfare towards where, sir? 35 to 40,000?
Yes, yes.
From where?
To Leh, from Delhi to Leh, from Jammu to Leh, from Srinagar to Leh. You know, and we have been trying to raise this issue on all forms of platform for, I don't know, 7 to 8 years, and nobody has been, looking at it. And this happens continuously whenever you have snowfall, whenever you have landslides blocking our two arteries that connect Ladakh to the rest of the country. Right. And as soon as they get blocked, you see a rise in airfares, and, you know, nobody gives an ear to our problems. So, yeah, I mean, geostrategically, yes, Ladakh is important. We realize we live in harmony with the army, and perhaps, you know, one of the best places. I think every army serving personnel, whoever has been to Ladakh, would always talk highly of the people of Ladakh, because we understand the dependency and, importance of army in Ladakh. So keeping in mind all of that, you need to understand that, yes, there are people living in Ladakh who have had their own customs, who value their land in a different way, who understand Ladakh in a very different way. Perhaps we do not cater to what your ideas of making profits in terms of tourism applies to rest of the country. You know, maybe there are so many people involved in tourism, but there is a substantial chunk of people who are not engaged in tourism, and they would want to continue with their agriculture or their religious beliefs or their language and things like that. So I would just request the government, the central government, to be a little bit more sensitive when it comes to understanding tribal people in general and Ladakh in specific, right?
Okay, I've run
I want to make a final comment if there is any.
Okay, Mr. Kargili, I just have 1 minute left, sir.
Okay, the thing is, only development is not our issue. We can see development in the areas where dictators rule. We need democracy. India is known for its democracy. So development and democracy should go hand in hand. That's why the biggest issue in today's Ladakh is democracy, the implementation of democratic rights to the people of Ladakh. So thank you. I hope government will understand our issues, our resentment, and they will fulfill our 4-point agenda, which Ladakhis are taking forward.
Right, absolutely. I thank, on that note, all of our panelists for once again joining us. This is the second day that we're covering the protests in Ladakh, and every day we try to understand the problem a little bit better from the perspective of the people who are actually there living in the Union Territory, speaking to their friends and relatives to understand what really is going on in the minds of the people of Ladakh. Why are they out on the streets? Have we failed somewhere to understand their aspirations? And if we have, let's take a pause, let's accept it, let's accept our failure, and then let's hear them out to come up with a plan which not only involves what the centre can do or what politicians can do, but maybe what Indian society can come together and do for our sister Union Territory of Ladakh.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.